There is a story, a powerful, persistent story, told by thousands of people, that has arguably done more to shape modern, Western beliefs about the afterlife than any sacred text. You know the story. It goes like this. A person is on an operating table or in a car crash. Their heart stops. They are, for a moment, clinically dead. From above, they watch the doctors working on their own lifeless body. They feel a sense of profound, overwhelming peace, a total absence of fear. They are pulled, as if by a magnet, into a long, dark tunnel. At the end of that tunnel is a brilliant, warm, and loving white light. Their whole life flashes before their eyes, not as a judgment, but as a loving review. They are greeted by loved ones who have passed on, and finally, they encounter a being of light, a figure of pure, unconditional love, whom many identify as God or Christ, who tells them, "It is not your time. You must go back." They are plunged back into their bodies, changed forever. This is the near-death experience, NDE, and for millions, this isn't a story. It is proof. It is the ultimate, empirical, scientific evidence that the soul exists, that death is not an end, and that the universe is, at its core, benevolent and loving. It's a narrative that transcends any single religion, offering a universal, hopeful spirituality. But what if I told you that this specific, standardized, 15-point narrative is not ancient? What if I told you that people in the Middle Ages, who had near-death experiences, reported wildly different and frankly terrifying things? And what if I told you that the entire familiar tunnel of light script, the one we all know, can be traced back to one man and one book, published in 1975? How is it that an experience so profound, so universal, seems to have been invented less than 50 years ago? Today, we are exploring the fascinating origins of the modern NDE. Did a 1970s philosopher and medical student discover the objective geography of the afterlife? Or did he, in fact, create a powerful modern myth, a cultural script that has taught us all how to die? The story of the modern NDE begins not with an ancient prophet, but with a philosophy graduate student at the University of Virginia in the 1960s. His name was Raymond Moody. In 1965, Moody was an undergraduate when he heard the story of a professor, Dr. George Ritchie, who claimed to have had a profound journey in the afterlife after being declared dead from pneumonia. The story stuck with him. Years later, as a medical student, Moody began to notice a pattern. When he would casually ask patients who had been resuscitated from clinical death if they remembered anything, a small number would hesitantly tell him stories that sounded remarkably similar to Dr. Ritchie's. They talked about floating out of their bodies. They talked about a tunnel. They talked about a light. Moody was fascinated. This wasn't religion, this was data. He began to systematically collect these stories. By 1975, he had gathered about 150 accounts. He sat down and, like a good philosopher, he analyzed them. He synthesized them, boiling them down into a 15-point composite model of the typical NDE. This 15-point checklist is now famous. It includes a feeling of ineffable peace and well-being, the sensation of floating out of one's body, hearing a strange buzzing or rushing sound, traveling rapidly through a long, dark tunnel, emerging into a brilliant, golden light, encountering a being of light who radiates pure love, a life review, seeing one's entire life pass by, encountering the spirits of deceased relatives, reaching a border or limit and being told to return, a profound, life-altering change in personality upon returning. In 1975, he published his short, anecdotal study in a book titled Life After Life. The book was a cultural atom bomb. It was the perfect message at the perfect time. The 1970s was a post-60s era of spiritual seeking, a new age of personal experience over old, dogmatic religion. And here was a medical doctor and philosopher presenting what looked like scientific, empirical evidence for an afterlife. It sold over 13 million copies. It was featured on The Phil Donahue Show, and it ignited a global conversation. Raymond Moody, in a single stroke, had defined the near-death experience. He gave the world a name, a vocabulary, and a standardized script for an experience that had, until then, been private, anomalous, and chaotic. This is where the religion for breakfast style question comes in. If this 15-point journey is the objective, universal truth of what happens when we die, then we should be able to find this same story reported consistently throughout history, right? The answer is, we don't, at all. When we look at historical accounts of near-death visions, particularly from the Middle Ages, they are wildly different. They are not peaceful, loving, or universal. They are, frankly, terrifying, and they are culturally specific. Take the famous Visio Tungdali, the Vision of Tundel, an Irish text from 1149. A wealthy knight named Tundel falls into a catatonic state for 3 days. When he awakens, he doesn't describe a being of love. He describes being dragged by demons through a horrifying Dantesque landscape. He sees a fiery pit filled with monsters, a lake of ice where the greedy are frozen, a narrow, spike-covered bridge over a chasm of demons. It is a literal tour of medieval hell and purgatory. His vision perfectly matched the theology he had been taught. Or look at the Venerable Bede in the 8th century. He tells the story of a man from Northumbria who died and was led by a guide in a shining robe. He was shown a vast, dark valley. On one side, leaping flames. On the other, a blizzard of ice. Souls were being tossed from one side to the other, from extreme heat to extreme cold. Again, a vision of judgment, not universal, unconditional love. When we look at other cultures, the story is the same. In India, anthropologists have collected NDE accounts where the dying person is taken by servants to the palace of Yamraj, the Hindu god of death. They are held in a waiting room while a clerk, Chitragupta, checks his records. The clerk then realizes, oops, we've grabbed the wrong person, and the soul is sent back to their body. The experience is not a loving journey. It's a bureaucratic, clerical error. In Thailand, people often report seeing Yamath boots, who drag them through a terrifying landscape to see there a personalized, fiery Buddhist hell. The data is overwhelming. The content of the NDE is not universal. It is profoundly, culturally, and religiously specific. A 12th century Catholic saw Catholic hell. A 21st century Hindu sees the Hindu god of death. So why, all of a sudden, do modern Americans see a tunnel of love? This is where the neuroscientists and skeptics enter the debate. They offer a powerful, purely physical explanation for the entire phenomenon. They argue that the NDE is not a spiritual journey out of the body. It's a fascinating, predictable neurological process of the brain shutting down. The experience is real. The explanation, they say, is not supernatural. The tunnel vision, this, they argue, is a direct result of anoxia, or cerebral hypoxia, lack of oxygen to the brain. As the brain's visual cortex begins to fail, it shuts down from the periphery inward, leaving only a narrowing, central field of vision. This creates the tunnel effect. The bright light, the remaining central part of the visual field, becomes hyperstimulated, often firing erratically, creating the bright light at the end of the tunnel. The out-of-body experience. This feeling of floating or detachment is also a known neurological phenomenon. It can be artificially triggered by stimulating a specific part of the brain, the temporoparietal junction. It's a disconnect between the body's sensory inputs and the brain's internal model of itself. The peace and bliss. This is a classic biochemical response. Under extreme duress, the brain releases a massive flood of endorphins and ketamine-like neurotransmitters. These are the body's own powerful opiates and anesthetics, creating a profound, drug-like state of euphoria, peace, and detachment. The life review. This is possibly a temporal lobe seizure, or, as the brain's systems fail, a rapid, non-linear dump of memory as the brain's electrical activity surges one last time. From this purely materialist perspective, the NDE is a dying brain phenomenon, not an afterlife phenomenon. It's the brain's final, fascinating, and somewhat predictable electrical and chemical fireworks show before the lights go out for good. So, how do we reconcile the neuroscience which explains the sensation with the historical records which show the story is not universal? This brings us to the cultural script theory. This theory, championed by sociologists and historians, provides the most elegant and most provocative synthesis. It argues that the physical experience of brain shutdown hypoxia, endorphins, is a universal physiological event. This is why people from different cultures might all report some similar sensations: a feeling of peace, a light, a tunnel. 2. But the interpretation, the narrative, the meaning, the story we weave around those raw, chaotic sensations is 100% cultural. For 1,000 years, a dying medieval brain, experiencing hypoxia and an endorphin rush, would interpret that sensation through the only script it had, the Dante's Inferno script of judgment, demons, and purgatorial fire. A dying Hindu brain in India interprets that same physiological event through the Yamraja's court script it has grown up with. Then, in 1975, Raymond Moody came along. In a Western world that was increasingly secular, scientific, and skeptical of old fire and brimstone religion, he offered a brand new cultural script. His book, Life After Life, was a paradigm-shifting event. It wasn't just a report, it was a myth-making act. He created and validated a new, comforting, scientific, and spiritually universal narrative. A narrative that had no hell, no judgment, and only a being of pure love. This Moody script went virally contagious. It was spread through his book, through TV, through copycat books. It became the dominant cultural story. So now, when a modern American's brain experiences hypoxia, it doesn't default to Dante's hell or Yamraja's court. It defaults to the Moody script. We see the tunnel and the light, and we know what it means. Because our culture has told us what it means. In this view, Raymond Moody didn't discover the objective, timeless NDE. He invented the modern NDE narrative as we know it. He's the great, modern mythmaker of the afterlife. So we are left at a profound crossroads. The experience of the NDE is clearly, undeniably real for those who have it. But what is it? On one side, argument A, is Raymond Moody a modern-day discoverer? Was he a pioneer like Galileo, who simply reported on the true, objective, spiritual geography of the afterlife? Is the reason ancient accounts are so different and fear-based because they were filtered through the superstitions of their time? Whereas Moody's scientific collection of anecdotes finally revealed the real, loving, universal truth that God is love and death is not to be feared. On the other side, argument B, or was Raymond Moody a cultural inventor? Was he a typhoid Mary of ideas? Did he, completely unintentionally, create a powerful modern myth, a mass psychological suggestion, a cultural contagion that has simply taught us all how to interpret our own brains' dying, neurological fireworks? Did he discover the afterlife, or did he simply rebrand the dying process for a new age? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts, respectfully, in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into the hidden history of the near-death experience fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that uncovers the real stories behind our beliefs. Thanks for watching.